Hey, we're live, folks. It is Friday night, 6:30. We are doing our Fat Thor podcast. I'm Andy Gunnin,
And I'm Rick Wayne.
and we're here once again. We're normally, I know, we keep bouncing around because of schedules. Typically, we're on Thursday. We were on Friday, then Thursday, then Wednesday, and due to schedules, we're back on Friday tonight. Uh, for tonight only. Next week we'll be back on at 6:30. I promise you that. We've already got a great guest scheduled. But just want to welcome everybody. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast or the 15 other platforms we are now on through Buzzsprout, tonight's going to be a little bit different. We got a lot of pictures, so if you want to see what we're talking about in the videos, you can go to the Fat Thor Podcast on Facebook or YouTube and watch the podcast that way and see all the pictures and everything. We'll try to describe them as best as we can, but if this probably not a good one to listen to other than the topic, which is paranormal, ghosts, and things like that. But we got to get to business first. We got to take care of our sponsor tonight. Rick, take care of our sponsor for us.
Our sponsor again is one of my favorite places on the planet Earth. It's called Killer Finds. Comics, record, video game, all kind of cool collectibles. They're over in Hiram, Georgia at 4215 Jimmy Lee Smith Parkway in Hiram, Georgia. You can check them out on Facebook. As a matter of fact, go like their page, Killer Finds on Facebook. Check them out. If you can't make the trip out to Hiram, Georgia to go see Killer Finds, by all means, go online. Check out their inventory. They've got video games in store. You can play 80s video games and stuff like Street Fighter and all these cool games. Donkey Kong, my personal favorite, at Killer Finds in Hiram, Georgia. I love this place. You go check them out and you'll love them too.
Yep, or get them online at 143 killerfinds.com or killerfinds.com at 470-308-3939. And I think we covered that, so we're good to go. Yeah, welcome to the show tonight, everybody. If you don't recognize, this is my wife sitting next to me. Liz, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Liz. We pray for you.
I'm going to take my headphones off so she can hopefully hear Rick a little bit.
Okay.
If I run it through the speaker, it'll double back through and we'll have horrible sound.
I said, hey, Liz, we pray for you.
Oh, thanks, Rick. I need it.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. We did celebrate our anniversary Wednesday. 2 years. Boom. We made it. 2 years. On to the third, maybe. We don't know if we'll live through it. We'll see what happens. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. But anyways, yep, tonight's topic, we had a guest tonight, but they got called into work. We had a paranormal investigator. They didn't get called in to go find ghosts. They got called to go do something else. But we're still going to stay on topic because we have an amazing guest next week that's going to tie in. Do you want to talk about that now, Rick?
Or no, I don't want to talk about it. It's too early. We're talking to him right now. Our next guest, this is what I'll tease you. Our guest for next week, it's going to be a twofer. One's going to do a special appearance. He rarely does podcast interviews. Known this guy for a long time. Not going to say what he does, but it's in something spooky. I'll say that. And the other guest has a business up north that is haunted that she works in as well, and she has a very cool job. So that's all I'm going to tease. It's going to be a really, really cool show, so tune into Fat Thor next week and see what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be real cool to end the month out of October with.
It's going to be a great Halloween show. Absolutely, a great Halloween show.
Yes, it's very much Halloween themed, which we have been working towards all month to get towards. And this kind of is going to kick it off, talking about the paranormal. Please share. If you can, share this if you're on Facebook. Even if you're on YouTube, share it wherever you need to. Sharing is loving, is liking. That's what it is. Also, if you are cold this winter, get our hoodies. Fat Thor Fat Thor podcast hoodies are out. You've got your shirt there. I've got your hoodie here, by the way, Rick.
I'm wearing the summer wear still.
Well, it's 80 degrees today, and we don't. That's what we got.
Even though we moving into the fall and winter Fat Thor wear.
Right, and you can get those at storefrontier.com/Andy's Room, or just go to storefrontier.com and put it and type in Fat Thor Podcast. It'll take you straight to the podcast shirts, and you get a hoodie. They're only $29 and t-shirt, and what little bit we make does go to cover our expenses for the podcast, the radio show, and everything else that goes along with it. So again,
and the rainforest.
Yes, exactly. And the rainforest and the birds.
Asgard.
Yes.
And world peace.
And world peace. But yes, you can comment tonight. We'd love to take your comments. I think we're going to walk down a rabbit hole that's really fun to me, that I enjoy, which is paranormal. Spirits, ghosts. Do you believe them? Do you don't? Do you watch Ghost Adventures? Do you watch all the stuff like that? Are you a paranormal nut like myself? Have you had experiences or not? That's what we're covering tonight, and it's a good lead into next week. So we will start it off. Rick, do you
Well, I've got
believe in
it.
the do you believe in the
Well,
paranormal? And have you? Do you believe? Let's just start with that. Do you believe in the
yeah,
paranormal,
I
ghosts, and things
believe.
like that?
I don't know, man. I'll say this: my house that I grew up in, I'm pretty convinced it was haunted, and I believe a lot of it has to do with the area in which it was at, because it was over in West Cobb in Marietta, Georgia, which is very close to the Kennesaw Mountain uh, battlefield. And in the Civil War, a lot of people died right around that area, which are all
Mm,
subdivisions now. So we had a lot of weird kind of situations happen at that house from the time I was a kid till the time I moved out. And I was like in my early 20s when I moved, like 20, 21 years old. And so my mom lived there until she sold the house about 8 years ago, and
really?
still experienced stuff all the time, to the point where we just got kind of used to it. But that was what we all
Like
sort of
what?
chalked it up. Oh man, okay. Like my favorite story about something weird happening is I was going to work one morning. My brother had been camping with some friends, and my mom was going to work. And my mom we would have our dogs in the backyard, and you'd have to go down to the basement to go feed them. And on that door going down to the basement, we had like a sliding deadbolt lock. And I was in the shower, and I heard her just beating on the basement doors, yelling my name. And I put a towel on, and I go and open the door. And she's like, "Why did you lock me in the basement?" And I was like, "I've been in the shower. I had no idea you were in the basement." And she had went down to feed the dogs and come back up, and she was locked downstairs and couldn't get back up. Um, and it was always just weird stuff like that. We used to have one of those touch lamps that when you would touch it, it would get brightest. And we had two of them, and in front of these two big windows in our front of our house. And every time my mom would pull up in her car, this light would just start flashing on and off faster than you could really do it. And and then when she would come in the house, it would stop, and we would move it around the house to see if it was maybe an outlet. And we would put
Right.
this thing even in her bedroom, and she would come home from work, and it would still flash like it knew she was showing up. Um, just a lot of crazy stuff like that we went through all the time. I used to have my mom actually had the house blessed in the early '80s by our priest, and he never did the basement. He only did the upstairs.
You
And
got a half
we always,
job?
well, what's weird is we experienced a lot of weird stuff in the basement more so than afterwards. Like there was just a feeling down that basement that I always felt like I was being watched up until I would come upstairs. It was almost like I always equate it to, you've seen Evil Dead, right?
Right.
When the camera's running right behind them, it's like,
Right.
when they're running.
Right.
That's what it would feel like going up the stairs from the basement to my mom's house upstairs. It just had that, like something was right on your ass till you got upstairs, where it was obviously safe because it was possibly blessed. I mean, it wasn't possibly blessed, it was blessed, but possibly that's why it stayed downstairs opposed to
Gotcha.
coming upstairs. I don't know.
Gotcha. So she had it blessed, but is that why she had it blessed? Just because of that, or just to do it in general?
No, I mean, we had, from the time that we moved there, we had always experienced just weird things like that. So she just wound up getting it blessed because it was a newer house, and she felt that maybe it would make it go away. And it wasn't nothing like the Amityville Horror where we're having to flee the house in the middle of the night, but it was just always just weird things like that, like being locked in the basement. Or um, one night, my mom, I remember this being a little kid, this was pretty weird. My mom went to sleep. My brother had his room, and I had my room. And I was just about to go to sleep, and my mom screamed really loud, and me and my brother ran into her room. And she's just like, "Oh, go back to bed, go back to bed. You guys just had a nightmare." And I remember going back to bed going, how did we both have a nightmare? But what?
You both have a
How did she
nightmare,
know?
right?
But what happened was she said she was reading a book and she had the TV on in her room. And as she started nodding off, she said she smelt something really bad in her bedroom. And it smelled like body odor, just like a sweat.
Right.
And she opened her eyes and she said there was a man standing at the foot of her bed that looked like he was dressed in like a wool suit, like a
Right.
and he had a long beard and he was just glaring at her. He wouldn't, and she just screamed in panic. And when she closed her eyes and she opened her eyes, she says the smell went away, and obviously the man that she saw was gone. It was like there was no smell or anything. So
Right.
that's one of the reasons she got the house blessed. um, but yeah, it was just all kind of weird stuff that would happen in that house.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd get the house blessed at that point. Did it calm down or just stay in the basement at that point?
It it was just weird. We would have just like we had three animals over the course of the years that died in the basement. Really weird too. Weird circumstances, and within like just a few feet of each other, where the last one had passed away.
Really?
One we had a puppy. We had at one point we had a garage door down there, and the garage door was closing as this dog was running. It just ran towards it and it hit it right in the neck and broke its neck and died in front of me, my brother, and my mom. It was pretty disturbing. And
Really?
then, yeah, and then we had a cat named. We had one cat named Hendrix that died. We come home and he was just dead at the bottom of the stairs, and he never went in the basement. That was what was weird. He never ever went in the basement. And my brother come home from work or something or school, and he was looking for the cat, and he went downstairs, and at the bottom of the stairs, the cat was at the bottom of the stairs with blood in its mouth and like, um, stool coming out, and we had no idea why he died. It was just really
That's crazy.
bizarre. And then another one, a ladder fell on its neck and broke its neck as well, right next to where the other dog's neck got broken.
Really?
And which was really weird because cats have very they're agile, and they can jump around, and they're like a ladder breaking their neck seems pretty unusual, where a
Right.
cat would jump out of the way, and nope, and it snapped its neck like a twig.
Oh my gosh. No, I don't like cats, but that's crazy. That is a weird, weird, weird story. That is weird, and it's so fitting because you have a nice Ouija board behind your head.
Of
That we're
course,
talking
and the
about
Texas
paranormal.
Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But if you notice, if you notice, when we move over here on my Ouija board, there's also a cross underneath it.
Oh, okay. So we got. Let's talk to spirits, but we're going to keep them away
Well,
From the bed.
from the bed.
yeah, it's at the top of my bed. So yeah, the yin with the yang.
Right, right. Well, you know, have you ever messed with the Ouija board or anything at that house, and anything weird happened other than just what you grew up with?
My mom did. I never messed around with the Ouija board at that house. I don't know. I mean, it was always just one of those things to me. I guess at the time when I lived there, I was aware and thought about it, but I just never wanted to. It's like nothing bad ever happened. It was just sort of always unsettling feeling. That's the only
Right.
way I can
Okay.
describe
Yeah.
it. It was
Gotcha.
it wasn't so much fear based. It was just unsettling. Like when just somebody comes up and scares the shit out of you for no reason,
Right.
and you're just like, oh my god, and you're like, why did that happen? But that's why I didn't like it when just some weird stuff would happen where you would be seeing it and you're like, oh wow, this is happening again. And I hope this is the full amount of what we're going to get to deal with, and it goes
Right.
away quick. And we would ask
Right.
neighbors, like, do you ever have any situation in their house? And like the two neighbors we asked was like, no. Reminded me of that scene in Poltergeist where they're out there and they're slapping the mosquitoes, and they're like,
Right.
you ever have any problem? And they're like, no, don't think
No.
so. It's like, yeah, good. It's just us. Great.
Yeah, just that's awesome. Well, speaking of, I mean, I do believe in it. I had an experience back when I was young. When I was a kid, I was like 15, and I was spending the night at a buddy's house, and it was already weird to begin with because his mom dabbled in the occult, and she claimed to be a witch, but she said she was a good witch, but she was a practicing good witch. This already threw us into it for a loop. She
She
had
was
all
like
these
Stevie
books,
Nicks.
but she wasn't like doing it to be scared. She was just normal mom.
Yeah. Did your mama know about this?
No, no, I didn't even know about it till I showed up at the freaking house for this
She was like a
for this.
she was like a Stevie Nicks kind of witch, right?
Right, yeah, yeah, it was, and so and it was just me and a bunch of guys from the football team and and we were gonna have a party in his backyard, and a bonfire, and people were gonna come over and hang out, and most of us were gonna stay there. I had no clue about this. He just told me my mom's weird, and he didn't really ever tell us why. And it was like he really did. He was like, "Look, don't make fun of me, And I was like, "We're not gonna make fun of you. I mean, what do you mean?" And then finally was like, "All right, tell me what it is, because if it's bothering you this bad,
Maybe we don't want to come
you
over.
need to tell me so I'm not caught off guard." And I'm thinking maybe she had a limp or something, with her that you
A
just
lisp, a
don't draw
lisp.
attention to. And I'm like, and he
How
goes,
you
"My mom's
eating?
a witch." I'm like, "What?" I mean, and I'm like, "Dude, stop joking, man." He goes, "No, man. She practices being a witch." And I'm like, "What?" And at that point, I had not really wrapped my head around like a cult and as a religion. Okay, as a religion. And he said, "Yeah, my mom and my aunt mess around with that stuff. She's got books. Please don't bring it up. Please don't talk to her about it. She'll want to do stuff." And I'm like, "I don't want to do stuff." I'm
She's
like,
like she's like an Amway salesman of witchery.
right. And I'm like, "I don't want to mess with that stuff." I was like, "Trust me." I said, "I go to church. I mean, I said, I believe, I was like, I don't want to mess with any of that stuff." So, and he was like, "All right." So we go over there. And of course, you always have those knucklehead buddies, and she, she kind of messed with our heads, just kind of messed with us a little bit, but she never said anything. So the night goes on. We didn't really sleep. It got real cold that night. The next morning, I got a call. My mom called the house and said, "Hey, a buddy of yours wants you to go to a college football game with him. Do you want to go?" I said, "Yes." She goes, "Well, I need to come get you right now." I said, "Okay." And this is like early. It had gotten down to where it was frost on the ground. It was like in October, November. There was frost everywhere. It got real cold, and it was foggy across his backyard. And we had been in those woods all night. We knew the creek. We had the bond. I mean, I knew every lay of that area back there that went over to the power lines. And as I'm standing there in the kitchen, his mom said, "Hey, you want me to make you some breakfast?" I said, "Sure." And I'm standing there with her. Everybody else is asleep outside or down the hall or whatever. And I said, "Okay." And I'm standing there looking out the back. And as I'm looking at the back, I thought I start seeing something run from the neighbor's yard. And there's a fence in between their yards. And this thing comes across. And I thought it was a dog. And there's a chain link fence. Well, this figure hits the fence and goes straight through the fence and starts going across his backyard. And I'm just standing there and I'm looking at it and I'm following it with my head. At the same time, she's watching me while she's making pancakes, what I'm doing, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and I'm watching, and I realize this is a person. This is not a dog. This is a person. I can see a head, I can see a hat, I can see shoulders, and I'm like, is there a hunter out there, hunting those power lines? I'm like, but then I'm looking at it, going, there's not a. It's like a silhouette. And it's going like this, and all of a sudden it hits the tree line and fence of the other neighbor's yard and just goes away. And I'm going, and I'm trying to compute, and I'm like, man, I'm really tired. I'm exhausted, and without a beat, she laughs and goes, "So you saw the man?" And I was like, "What?" She goes, "You were watching the man, weren't you?" And she goes, "He comes across the yard every night." I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "He's from the Civil War, and he runs across our yard every now and then." And I said, "Did you see that?" She goes, "Yes." And I went, and I picked up the phone and I called my mom. I said, "Hey, Mom, can you come get me now? I don't want to eat breakfast." Freaked me out. And to this day, I can still see that silhouette of the dude with a hat what I thought was with no feet, and it was fall, and that sucker just floated like he was running, just like this. It was like a steady, just all the way across the whole backyard. Once it hits that fence, it was gone. And then it took me a minute to compute, and it went through my head so many times. It's like I could almost see through it, but yet it was a shadow, like a shadow person. Like people, they talk about shadow people, but it wasn't like, it was just like he was just running through the woods.
Well, I work at the Strand Theater in Marietta, and it's an 86-year-old theater, and we've experienced all kind of like bizarre paranormal type situations there. I've firsthand experienced several things, and I've got a couple stories I can tell you about that. I mean, that I've seen. One night.
Yeah, let's get it. Hey, before we jump into that one, Liz has one, and Liz brought us a video.
Nice.
Okay, and I'm gonna let her set it up, and then we're gonna play the video, and she can tell us about it.
Now, is this a personal experience video that's happened to you, Liz?
So it's a little different. So first of all, I'm a huge skeptic, and I would say that I never even entertained the idea that anything paranormal was real before I met Andy, who is very interested in it, and we watch all sorts of TV shows. And if I want to spend time with Andy after work, I'm going to be watching Ghost Adventures or some type of other paranormal show.
Or aliens.
Yeah, which is fine, right? So as I've started watching these shows, you can't help but ask yourself, like, there are no logical explanations for some of this stuff. Like, there's just not. And so a year ago, I was visiting one of my offices that is in Wilmington, Ohio, and there was like all this buzz in the office when I got in that morning. And, I work from home, and so I have offices all over the country, and so I'm not there like all the time, so I figured I'd just miss like whatever was planned to go on that day in the office, right? So I finally asked one of my managers, like, hey, what's going on? And he was like, I got to show you this video. It's like, okay, what video? He's like, I'm going to email it to you. It's like, okay. He said it's a video that security caught last night on our cameras in our office.
Elizabeth Davis says, hi, Liz. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Elizabeth. All right. So here I'm going to show you
the video. Here's the video clip, and then I will kind of walk you through the layout of our office here.
All right, now watch it. Just watch. I'm going to take the banner down.
I don't know if you want to start it over. So it takes place like right in the beginning.
Let me take it.
Yeah. So see the like mist in the middle. If you look at the main.
All right. Look. All right. Let's walk them through everything around the office. So this is an office space with cubicles everywhere.
Yeah.
How many cubicles?
It's a huge office. We have like 550 people in this location. At any given time. And so this part of the building, and it's all security controlled, which is very, obviously we have cameras everywhere, and I think that's really important. But this part of the building, you go through 2 security like access checkpoints, and it's an internal part of the building. And that becomes really important because what they were telling us, so what the security team told us is kind of the explanation, was that this is a reflection of headlights, but there are no windows. This is an internal secure room, even though there's like rows of cubicles. So there are no external windows that face this space.
Well,
you see it, Rick?
I'll say this.
It goes across the camera. It starts here and goes across all the way over to this other desk. Hangs around, and then it like goes behind and through this cubicle and just keeps hanging out.
Yeah, that's why he's a lame ghost. He wants to be at work. Or that's where he's been.
But look, but then
he comes back.
But look, then he comes back across.
He's like, how do I get out of here? This sucks.
Yeah, he's like, I'm stuck. And then you see it like disappear.
It went to the break room.
So, what is also interesting about this clip is that I learned, so again, like I was new to this facility. Excuse me, this was like the first time I had visited there. And what I learned is that that facility sits on Indian burial ground. So it sits today in what looks like a massive cornfield in the middle of Ohio, because we have crops on all three sides of our big complex there. But back in the day, and I meant to do, when Andy, was like, hey, we've had a change in the schedule with the guest not coming on, you need to, and he was talking to me about it. I was like, hey, we should talk about the video. And I wanted to go and kind of look into the history because it's something that I never did. But from all of my coworkers that live there in Ohio were sharing that with me, that it sits on like 100-and-something-year-old burial ground, and that's not an uncommon occurrence. We just always don't get good documented security footage. But that it's common that stuff falls off desk, like during the day while they're at work. That stuff will get knocked off desk and things like that, which is, again, really hard to explain away. And I'm looking at our security team going, dude, there's no way that's headlights. Like, even if you back up and you turn, it doesn't follow that path, even if there were windows.
She was like, let me call on Heather. I was like, yeah, I want to get involved.
Yeah.
I forgot about this video until she brought it up.
Yeah, it's been a year. It happened last October.
So, like, does anybody at that office ever experience anything unusual on a day-to-day, or have they captured any more footage like that since this video's first, showed up?
Yeah. So, like 4 months later, we sent everybody home. So in February, because of COVID, we don't have the majority of our teams in that office anymore. They're all working from home. But that's what I was saying. Stuff would get knocked off desk unexplained. Like staplers would get knocked off and things like that.
That's pretty crazy. I had a friend of mine I grew up with. I'm still friends with this guy. We grew up as kids. A lady died at his house before they bought it. And she got run over by a car. Like, it backed over in the driveway. And they used to have all kinds of weird shit happen to them. Like, I'd see this shit. I'd experienced, you could get the smell of formaldehyde in their house sometimes.
Really?
Oh, gross.
And yeah, it was crazy. And the other thing was, this was the one that I never seen it, but this happened to them like 5 times. They would come home from like being out to work or dinner or whatever, and all the pictures in their living room would be face down on the floor in the exact position that they were on the wall, just face down.
I'd walk in, I'd turn and walk out, but
yeah.
like, we're moving.
We'd move.
We're moving.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was over in Kennesaw, and it was weird because when that first started happening, my buddy Carrie's older sister was coming home from work. She worked at Kmart, and when she drove a Volkswagen too, and that's what run her over, was a Volkswagen Beetle. And she said when she pulled up, she was getting the mail out of the mailbox, and her headlights went across the carport, and she saw an old woman. And then as she pulled up to the top of the driveway, she walked in and she asked her mom, she's like, who's that old woman on the carport? And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. There's nobody out there. And she was telling her neighbor like the next day about an old woman, and she's like, that sounds like the lady who used to live there that got run over by the Volkswagen.
Oh my gosh.
On the carport. So yeah, they'd have all kind of weird stuff. That was pretty weird. But I've been over there when the house would smell like formaldehyde. We'd come in, and it was like the house would just smell, it would reek very thick, but it would go away. As soon as we would show up, it would just disappear. It's weird.
Really?
So I will tell you something else that watching paranormal shows nonstop for 2 years, being married to Andy, has done for me. We went to the Lakewood Antique Market last weekend, and Riley, my daughter, Andy, nor I would touch any of the items. I am so creeped out by like old toys and things that are attached. Oh my gosh, yeah, there was like a face of a doll and like just heads of dolls and all kinds of random, antiques that I'm like, don't look at it. Keep walking. Don't touch it. something's
I would
coming
buy
home
the
with
hell out of
us.
that.
What's that?
I would buy the hell out of stuff like that. I love stuff like that.
Right. Oh, hey, we gotta do our halfway. It's been 30 minutes. But guess what? We got our sponsor, Killer Finds, Comics, Records, Video Games, and Collectibles in Hiram, Georgia. You can check them
Buy,
out at
trade, and
143.
sell.
That's right. Or go play Donkey Kong with Rick for free.
Woohoo! For free. No quarters required whatsoever. Come out to Hiram,
No
Georgia. And see
quarters
Killer Fun.
required. By the way, they are tagged at the top of our page if you want to click on their Facebook page. Like them and tell them Andy and Rick sent you from Fat Door Podcast. But yeah, they wouldn't touch anything and all that. But, I'm not too weird about that stuff. I like antique places, but, it does make you think. But, like, when we go to New Orleans and we go to, like, the voodoo shops and stuff, I look at her and I go, do not touch anything in here. She's like, what? I go, do not touch one of these African masks or anything. This thing is highly, highly could be active and you could touch it and take home something with you. She's like, what? I'm like, there's stories about this.
Look, like Elizabeth said, how she's skeptical, right? Now, here's where my skepticism lies in this stuff. And this is a question I've had for a long time about ghosts. Every time you hear about ghosts, especially from a time period, they're always wearing like suits or long flowing dresses, right?
Right.
Well, so that makes me wonder, do their clothes die too? Why they wearing flowing dresses and suits? Why are they naked? You come into the world naked. Why are they just naked?
I know. I know. Well,
I think they get to choose.
Yeah. They
but
say that. They say that
it
pattern imprints.
But if somebody died in the 80s, are they going to come back and haunt you in parachute pants or acid wash jeans and big hair
and a Michael Jackson glove? Yes, that's happening.
Well, but LA Gears, they right. Women's high-waisted pants and
yes,
shoulder pads. Are they going to come out and haunt you in that?
Yes.
That's why you need to dress your best every day.
Well, I guess. I mean, maybe these are just high roller ghosts. They only get the opportunity to come back in ball gowns and suits to haunt.
But if I do go out with no pants on and then I come back with no pants on, it's a win-win.
See, that would be even funnier. I would love to tell a horrifying ghost story of a guy just wearing a T-shirt, a backwards ball cap, and no pants and Crocs. That scared me. A ghost of that. That'd be really frightening,
Holding a beer.
That's scary.
Holding a Miller Lite.
Yeah, holding a Miller Lite, just no pants on. A shirt that don't fit really good. Like he died out like got struck by lightning, right after getting laid. He's taking a piss in the bushes. He's got on Crocs. He's drinking a Miller Lite. He's still got his Pablo Cruz T-shirt on, his backwards baseball cap. He's feeling pretty good about himself, Then, bap, stroke of lightning hits him. He dies. He comes back and hops the ground, walking around with his junk hanging out, and that Pablo Cruz T-shirt on, and a backwards, Yankees cap on, and Crocs that are camouflage.
Oh, that's me all day, every day, bro. All day, every day. That is it. That would be the epic. That'd be like right up here.
I'll tell you, y'all got any more footage?
No, that's the only one. But yeah, I forgot she showed me that back a year ago. I'm glad that she had it because I was really disappointed we didn't have any footage or anything. And she was like, I got that one from the office. I was like, holy crap, I almost forgot totally about it until she brought it up.
You know what? Like every time, like when I was telling you the stories about my mom's house that I grew up in, and the Strand. I'll tell you some Strand shit too. And my friend Carrie's house. Everybody else says, "Oh, that could be because of the Civil War or whatever." But I'll tell you this story. This is true, and this is the story that always really freaks me out more than any ghost story I've ever experienced, because it was something that was happening in the now that wasn't from the past or the Civil War or whatever. When it was like 1987, and I had this Volkswagen Beetle. And the gas gauge was broke on it. So I'd always carry a gas can in case I ran out of gas. So I was headed to the gas station to go over and hang out with some friends. But I ran out of gas before I got to the gas station, like 2 miles away. So I'm walking down, which is now Barrett Parkway, but in the 80s, it was this little road called Ridgeway Road. And it was a 2-lane road, and it come up and it would cross Dallas Highway. And there was a gas station right down there at the corner.
Right.
So I'm walking down there to go get gas to come back and put in my car, and I see a Cobb County police car come up. And It slows down, and I'm like, hey, my mindset was, hey, he's a public servant, and he'll give me a ride to the gas station, you know? So he pulls down this little trail, and I'm running behind this police car going, hey, stop, man. And I'm thinking, where's he going? Like, is it like is he kind of gonna be watching cars speeding? And so I'm still yelling at him because I'm like, I'm hoping this guy will give me a ride. But now I'm running down this path following this police car. And dude, I promise you, when I'm telling you this story, that car was as real as what I'm looking around in my room right now. I could see the license plate, the reflective, numbers on the back panel of the car, Cobb County Police Department, the blues on top. It drives all the way down and it stops. And I'm thinking, well, finally. And I see him put him in park. And when like, I can even see the reverse lights flash on for a little brief second. And he turned the car off. And when that car turned off, bro, I swear to you, man, hand to God, that car disappeared in the thin air, bro. It was gone. I was standing out there with nothing but crickets and a gas can in my hand and looking around like, what the hell just happened? That car just poof, gone. And it was as
What
real.
have you been smoking?
Hey, as a matter of fact, I was on the way to go pick up something to go smoke. And I was like 17 years old. And I had to walk back
that
out
don't
of
mean
the woods.
anything.
Man, I wish I could hallucinate that hard. Trust me. But
Right.
Dude, were you trying shrooms?
Nope. I walked back out and got gas, and I come back and put gas in my car, and I was just bewildered by the whole experience. And drove over to my friend's house and was telling them that was the same kind of reaction. Like, yeah, what are you smoking? It's like, bro, that was real, man. And I've even taken friends down that little path is still over there off of Barrett Parkway now, next to a Pike's Nursery and a fire station. You can still drive down that path. It goes to nothing. It just turns around. You'd really have to walk it, but you could drive a car down there if you wanted. But that was like 1987, 88. And
Right.
I promise you, I was standing back there looking around like a fool because that car just disappeared into thin air, man. Thin air. Gone. And see, here's my question was, what did something happen to like maybe a police car? Why would this happen? How would it just disappear? Was there like some? And my mom worked for the sheriff's department for years. I even asked her like, did something happen with a Cobb County officer at some time in this area? But why is it a brand new car? It was a brand new Crown Vic.
That's what I'm saying. I think they get to choose.
They also say it's not that they get to choose. There's portals to other dimensions, and that's the new theory or theories that it's we go on to a different thing. Even if you believe in heaven or hell, from the religious aspect, that it's another dimension that still can be seen. And that's a lot of people say, well, there's heaven and hell, and then the Catholics believe there's purgatory. In purgatory, you're still trapped here. The belief was that the people or spirits were in purgatory and or trapped here because they were confused and didn't know whether to go to the light or to whatever.
Like that one ghost at Elizabeth's work. He's stuck at work. See, it's his purgatory.
Right. And if he's an Indian, he don't even know what the hell to do because he ain't trained on anything.
Well, that's the thing. He's still at work. He's like, man, this is my purgatory. I'm having to be stuck in the office. I can't even go to the best he can get is the break room, and it's the break room.
It's still amazing video.
It's creepy.
I mean, just to see it again, and I watched it. I probably watched it 100 times and talked to her about it. I was like, do you understand why I have these conversations with you? And I said, it's not because I haven't experienced it myself, but I have, and I've experienced other things, and and then here it is, and we had actually talked about it up to this point, and she was just all a skeptic, and then she walks into the room and she's like, oh crap, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm in.
I was like, I told you. I told you. It's just...
Well, I was telling you at the Strand where I work, we've experienced all kind of weird stuff there, and, I just think
I'm sure.
Square,
I mean, how old's the building again? How old is the Strand for the folks that don't know?
like 83 or 86 years old, something like that. We'll just say 85, but it's almost
If the
100 years
Strand is
old.
in Marietta for people listening on podcasts and other places, the Strand is a
Yeah,
historic theater. It still looks like it did 86 years ago, and their
it's got
comedy
it's
shows.
got a
They're there.
1920s Art Deco look to it, and yeah, it's a beautiful theater. But here's what I've experienced there. Okay, um, the most weird, the strangest thing that ever happened to me that I can say was one night I worked on the fourth floor, Brew with a View in the summertime, and we were closing down the bar, and me and my other bartender Josh was bringing these highboy tables from the terrace inside, and we had two other tables to bring in. And as we were getting the second to the last one, the one sitting over in the corner just starts rattling around on the terrace and shaking around like somebody's picking it up and trying to move it. And we both look at each other like, and he goes, "You see this, right?" And I mean, we were both just dumbfounded by this. So we brought the other table in, and before we got the other table to bring inside, we checked to see if there was any kind of wobble to it. Man, it was stable as a table. It wasn't moving at all, and it was crazy. And then we've had like the elevator. If you're there by yourself, like I would be there in the mornings when I worked in box office, and the elevator will always go to floor two and just open up and close for no reason at all hours. And I used to hear things moving up in the second floor, being in the lobby, working in the box office, and go up there and doors were locked. Nobody could get in or was in the building to go. It was kind of like people dragging couches across the floor. And you'd go up there and no couches are moved, the doors are locked, you can't get in. The lounge where we did comedy, it would be locked. And
Yeah.
I would hear this like somebody's dragging couches across, and just me and one other person's there. And they're in an office that's right at the top of the stairs and has no reason to go into the lounge and drag couches around just to freak
Wow.
me out. You
Has
know?
it no? Has anybody done a paranormal investigation or anything at the Strand ever that you know of?
Well, not that I know of. Like, I know we've had people come in, and there's a lot of people who ask to do it. I don't. I've never seen anybody come and do anything like that. I do know we have the Marietta Ghost Tours, and the Strand is on the the walk, and I don't know. They obviously don't go through it. I think at Halloween in October, like last year, they would let them come in and talk about certain things that happened. But in the declining years of the Strand, back in the '90s, when it was just like a punk rock club, it really kind of went. It was kind of. It always reminded me of like in Back to the Future when like the '80s, where the '50s kind of theater was all dilapidated, turned into like a porn theater or something.
Right.
It was a punk rock club for a while, and a kid did die there backstage. And I've always felt like we always talked about how in the auditorium and backstage there's certain areas it just feels, no matter how packed it is or what the event is, it just has these weird kind of feelings. I don't like walking to the auditorium and the lights are all out, even if I have my phone out with a thing. I just have a very negative vibe walking from backstage to the lobby with the lights all out in the Strand. It just has a weird.
Right.
And
But
everybody works
nothing
there will tell you
negative or
that.
that's ever happened to anybody. Nobody's been scratched or hurt
No, nothing like that. I
or
don't.
grabbed.
I think it's. I mean, not that I know of. Not with the people that I work with. Nobody's ever said anything negative. We've just had just weird stuff. Like one night, I was putting a vacuum cleaner up. I was coiling it up, and I was talking to my best friend Justin. He was behind me, and then he walked off, and then I thought he was in the closet where we put all of our like the tables and chairs and vacuum cleaners, and he was going to jump out and scare me. And I seen like shadows under the door where the light was on, and I thought it was him. So I yanked the door open really quick to bust on him, and there was nobody there. And he was in the auditorium mopping, or in the lobby mopping. And I walked out, and I was like, "Dude, I thought you were in there, just going to jump out and scare me. I thought I saw your feet." And I opened the door, and there's nobody there. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that happens sometimes." And I was like,
Oh,
"Damn,
that
that's
happens
fucking weird."
sometimes. I'll be like, well, it's not happening anymore. I'm out. See ya.
I mean, but here's the thing. I think unless nothing bad is happening to you, and I kind of felt like the same way at my mom's house when I grew up there. it's kind of unnerving sometimes, but I never felt threatened. I never felt harmed or nothing ever bad. I never woke up with scratches or anything bad ever happened, like what you would normally see in like a movie.
Right.
But it's still unnerving, but it's not fearful. And that's the way I always
Right.
would feel at the Strand. It's not. I'm not in any jeopardy. I just feel kind of like somebody's watching me, or I go into
Right.
a particular room. There was certain places in the Strand that I would go. You could kind of feel a presence in the basement, for instance. It's underneath the square, and
Right, because that is the
that just
most, that
always
is
comes.
the weirdest thing is when you have that feeling that somebody is watching you and you can't see who it is or figure out where it's
The,
coming from.
yeah, the fourth floor felt that way when you were up there, and I don't care if it was daytime or middle of the night. It always had the same feeling to me. If you were up there by yourself, it just had a feeling of you were constantly being what?
I feel that way when I wake
Even if,
up and Andy's watching me sleep. It's creepy.
I do. I watch
well,
you
you
sleep.
married him, so
So weird.
I'm like,
and he's
it's
wearing
not a
just a
shadow
shirt, no
person.
pants,
It's me,
and those
baby.
Crocs, and a Miller Lite can.
What's that?
I said you're wearing no pants, just a half shirt, the Crocs and the Miller Lite can, staring at your
That's
wife.
right. Damn right.
It's like, hey,
That's the middle aged come get you some
It's a
outfit.
dad bod.
you want to meet you want to meet you some fat Thor, baby.
Get all the fat Thor you want. No, but
How'd I
yeah,
get so lucky?
exactly.
Yeah, you'll be Thor in the morning once you get done with me, baby.
Yeah. Have you ever been down to Savannah to all the haunted cemeteries and all that stuff? I love
Yeah,
going down there to
my
those.
mom had my mom back in the '90s had a condo over there in Tybee. We'd go there all the time when I was married. Um, yeah, we did the ghost tour. They even did a thing called Ghost Stock. I never went to it, but yeah, Savannah. I've been to all the cemeteries down there. I've got pictures of me in some of the cemeteries in my house from down in Savannah. Because um, have you ever? I mean, and speaking of cemeteries, like Macon, not has got one of the biggest cemeteries in the state of Georgia, Rose Lawn
Yep.
Cemetery. It's so big that you have to cross over a bridge on 75 to get to the other side of Rose Lawn. That's where
Yep.
Greg Allman, Dwayne
Yep.
Allman,
Almonds
and
down
Barry
there.
Oakley are
Yep.
all.
I've been to it.
Yep. Elizabeth Reed, from the song in memory
Yep.
of Elizabeth Reed. I've went down there
Right.
and smoked weed on Elizabeth Reed's tombstone, just like they did, the brothers and stuff. Really
Cool.
cool. But yeah, Savannah's got some of the oldest cemeteries
Yes, the oldest,
in the state of
original
Georgia.
to Georgia. Exactly.
Yep.
I've been through it all,
Yep.
and I've heard all the stories. The reason why I brought it up is because you can go down there, and there's a couple of hotels that have very haunted rooms to the point you have to sign a waiver that no refund. You leave. That's on you, kind of deal. And I keep telling Riley and Liz, it's like I want to, I've never stayed in one of those rooms, and I've always wanted to because I can't get nobody to do it with me. Because I'm like, I don't want to do it by myself. I want somebody to do it with me. And I
I'll
told
go with you,
Riley and
Andy.
Liz, like, we're gonna go down there and stay one night in one of those rooms. There's 3 or 4 of them that are so haunted that you have to sign a waiver.
I'll go. I'll do it with you.
I don't know. It'd be kind of weird me and you sleeping in the same bed. It's only a 1 bedroom.
So
Wow.
Riley is all about it. I mean, she is all into it. In fact, that's what we were going to do this spring break is we were going down to Savannah to stay and like do all the ghost tours and check all of that out. And then COVID happened, so we've just put it off. But it's definitely something we've got to
I have
revisit with her because she's all about it.
I have in one of my little gardens in the front yard the bird girl from in the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil
Hmm.
from Savannah in my front yard, and I put bird seed in her little plates to feed the birds. So yeah, I'm down with Savannah, man. I spent a
I
lot of
love it.
time down in Savannah. Back, you know.
I love it. I
Um,
mean, I've always loved Savannah. I love
I
New
like
Orleans
Tybee.
almost
I'm not
just
in
as
love with.
much.
See, I'm not a big fan of New Orleans. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of Savannah. I like Tybee. I don't really care for Savannah. I mean, sorry for Savannah people, residents, but I always feel like even New Orleans, and I know people probably that are watching in New Orleans will be pissy too, but it's like I always feel like those places are dirty. I just don't like them. I'm not impressed whatsoever with Savannah.
It's
To
the
be honest
history.
with you.
It's the
Rip,
history of it, and because it's still all intact from it being the original
it is, but it's
colony
also
set up.
just it's just
And if you
I don't
go
know.
out
I mean,
away
there's
from Savannah, out to the
yeah, I know.
forts and stuff where they originally
Oh,
had the
I've been
first houses and everything, that's really cool.
yeah, I've been to
That's
what is
where
it
I've gotten a lot of weird stuff happen down in Savannah, is around that kind of stuff down there.
uh,
Not
the
so much
Pirates House,
anywhere
Fort
Pulaski
Pulaski,
and
the
all
Pirates
that.
House. I've been there, man. I tell you what, I don't know how anybody lived in that time, dude. As hot as it was in Savannah, Georgia, back in that time, and those guys are wearing those wool suits, like I talked about earlier. And man, in Savannah, Georgia, in the 1800s, Lord have mercy, that had to be. No wonder they're coming back.
Miserable.
You know why they're coming back, Elizabeth? Because there's AC in your building. That's why. They're like, God
Yeah,
damn it, we're
exactly.
so
There's
hot.
AC. There's air conditioning in the building. Oh, dude, I think about that all the time because all they would do is just crack shut the blinds, crack open the doors, and it was what it was, mosquitoes and all.
Well, they didn't know any different.
Yes.
No, they didn't know any different. And if you don't
No,
know
that's
any
why. But
different, you
now
don't know.
they're like, I left out in this place, walking around in this hot ass ball gown, and now I've discovered a place to haunt that's climate controlled. I'm gonna haunt this place forever.
Right. I love the Pirate House. I think it's the coolest. It's the only original, or one of the only original houses still standing.
Yeah, and what's really cool about the Pirate House, so they say, I don't know if it's true, um, that there are places that in the house that you could go down into, like, to get to the river or
You
something,
can. It's
like
actually in the
tunnels.
dining room,
Yeah.
and they still have. They of course they have the original entry into the. You can see it, but if you go if you were to get down into it, it's blocked off. But it would go from the house straight down to the harbor, and the pirates like Blackbeard and whatnot would come row in at night. They'd be offshore somewhere, and they would anchor in, and they would, of course, have a little John boat and come up to it, and then sneak in to the house from the harbor. And actually, if you go down to the harbor, I tracked down where the entry was when I was a kid from the harbor, and you can't get to it now like you could back in the 80s, but you can see where that actual entryway was, and it was just like a drain, and it went, and I looked, and I watched, and I went, and I traced back how far it went, and it does go back to the pirate house. It goes all the way to it.
But you know, man, that's gangster as hell, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Back in
yeah,
the day, that was gangster as hell, man. You know, that you had like a little trench that you could dip up in a house to pop up in, and
pop up in a little
do
horror
some,
house, brothel, whatever. That's what it
yeah,
was.
do some marauding, and then get the hell out, sight unseen, man. That is dope. That's gangster right there. That is.
They said they would take shower, they would take baths, do whatever, hang out, res up, and then
Eat some good fried seafood.
eat some food and get the hell
But
on
you know what?
gone.
But here's what I wondered: did they ever talk about the ghosts that were there back then and go, man, there's some ghosts from 100 years ago. I don't want to stick around. It's kind of frightening, man. We got to get the hell out of here. Get back on the
Right,
open water. There ain't no ghost in the sea. See?
right. Well, they said there's ghosts there in that building, and a lot of people that work there say they've had experiences and stuff. There's a whole book on I've read, and they said and I ate there a couple of years ago. I used to eat there as a kid a lot and go there. I just like going there because of the history, because of that. And I would go as a kid and just look at that entryway, that tunnel, and I thought it was the coolest thing. It's like
Yeah.
they went from the
All
river
right.
all the way in here.
We
I was
need
gonna say
to plan the trip with
we're getting
Riley.
at the end of we're getting at the end of the show here. So here's what
Yep.
I want to kind of start uh, tapering down the end of the show with. It's like, so if you not if when you died, if you could come back and haunt a place or something, would you do it? And please tell me, Andy, you're gonna put on some pants if you're gonna do this.
He never wears pants.
Everywhere,
Well,
place. But what would I haunt? Or
He's not wearing pants now.
where would I
I
haunt?
know. I'm sure he's not.
I don't know. If I were to
Would you?
haunt anything, I don't know what I would haunt.
So I would haunt him. So if I die first, I'm coming to haunt him wherever he is 24/7.
It'd probably be a
gonna
bar
do it
somewhere.
are you gonna do it sweetly though? Like, are you gonna be
No.
like, oh,
No.
I miss you, or are you gonna be like trying to scare the whole hell out of him all the time?
Yeah,
Oh.
because he does that to me now. Like, jumps out and scares the crap out of me for no reason. Like, full-on adrenaline rush scares me on the regular.
I honestly hope that does not happen to you, Elizabeth. But if it does, I'm on your side, on the other side. Is all I'm saying.
I'm going to haunt a bar somewhere, either in Savannah or here. I don't know. I haven't decided.
We've already had this discussion, Rick. I tell him all the awful things I'm going to do to him.
So he better make.
It's okay.
it
I'm dying
happen,
first,
so.
anyways. It's
No, he's going to live forever now because we have amazing health insurance.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep him alive forever.
Well, if it happens to me, I'll come back and haunt the both of you. How about that?
Right, but we are getting into the show, folks. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or any of the other platforms, Stitcher, TuneIn, Stitcher, Buzz, whatever. Podbean, give us a rating. Give us a 5-star rating, if nothing else. You don't have to leave us anything. Just give us a 5-star rating. It does help. All the ratings help, and thank you for the people who have given us a nice review and ratings. We're so far trending a show a day or a download a day. So thank you for everybody who's done that. If you haven't, go check us out on the Apple Podcasts and all the other platforms. Or any of the
more
platforms.
a day.
Yeah, we're on about 17 platforms now. So I don't think there's not a podcast platform
17 downloads a day
that we're not on that you can't find us. Just type in Fat Door Podcast. Share us if you're on Facebook. Tell us if you liked it. Tell us if you didn't. We'd love your feedback. But next week, we are going to continue the paranormal stuff with the guests that we have coming in. And it's going to end out October, really. What's that?
Yeah, we're going to amp it up. It's going to be a great Halloween show.
Right. It is going to be. It is going to be a way to end off the month in a great. So thank you for watching, liking. I think there was a comment that Ginger Shelton Barnes.
Yeah, everybody's so excited I'm here.
Lazy.
Thanks for letting me hang out, guys.
No, you had the best video. You had the best stuff.
Absolutely,
I forgot about that video because we were trying to get that paranormal person on and bring videos, and they said they had videos, and they didn't have videos, and then they had to get called in to work. So you came in like a champ.
I saved the day again.
So let's see the video one more time from her work. This is actual video from my wife's work in Wilmington. And if you don't believe in ghosts, you can watch it here. It triggered the motion sensor cameras in an enclosed, secure, it's locked tight, no window room. That's probably got about 100 cubicles. And you can just see where it goes across, hangs out, staples something. We don't know what it did. It's putting some papers over in there, and then comes back across and goes to the break room. And it moves with, and then there's a light that. Did you see there was a light?
Yeah, that's a DCN scanner.
Oh, that's DCN scanner.
Yeah.
But it went with a purpose at the end. It wasn't just floating the same speed. It went from slow to hang out to slow to gone with a purpose. So
whoever's cubicle that was, or like,
I was moving. I'm moving the next day. I'm going to another floor.
Did you see that? My cubicle. Yep.
Yeah.
My cubicle's doing that. It's like, good. You stay there. I'm going to stay back in the back where there's no camera or ghost.
Yeah, I'll be in there with holy water, sprinkling holy water, exorcism, burning sage.
Because of what we do in our office, like we have to go, I call it airport security, but we have to go through metal detectors. They scan our bags. We cannot have our cell phones on the floor, everything, because it's a secure facility. And yeah, so I don't think we could smuggle holy water in.
I would do it.
Yeah.
Put it in a super soaker.
Yeah, the first time I went through security, I was like, I don't feel like you checked all this crap in my bag.
I would take some eye drops and take it out, put holy water in it, and then I'd go.
Or
holy water Visine.
You could have a necklace with a crucifix with holy water in it. and then you could break the crucifix and be like,
I mean, we could probably get the priest a visitor badge. I'm just saying.
Or
We
what
needed
you
to bless
do,
it.
what you really do, this would be really cool if it was your desk. You go in there and you put up like a little statue like Joe Boo. You do some ritual and start burning stuff, and then you kind of have like a dead animal and then have a little sacrifice altar. But like, people will be like, all right, HR coming.
yeah.
That freaks some people out.
It's like, yeah, it went from the biggest problem being a ghost to now the guy's got like a dead animal sacrifice on a Tuesday at lunch hours.
I'd bring in a bucket of fried chicken and be like, I can't sacrifice the chicken live. I just gotta. Here's my bucket of chicken to the ghost.
Church's chicken.
The best. The best.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. What do you got, Liz? You got anything?
Yeah, okay. So, Rick, I've been dying to ask because I've been thinking this the whole time. What do you say to chicks when you bring them into your room and you have a Ouija board above your bed?
I tell them that the Candyland print was not available.
Nice.
And by the way, don't get too handsy. You may summon something.
Yeah, don't get too crazy.
All right. So far,
All right, well,
so
that's
good.
the show for this week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and watching. Want to thank Killer Finds for being our sponsor again this month and next week. Go visit them. Check them out.
Come play
Like
Donkey
them.
Kong with me.
What's that? And play Donkey Kong with Rick. We still got to take a trip out there. All right, we'll be back next week on a regular time, Thursday at 6:30. And if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or any other platforms, it will be uploaded in probably in November versus October. So we're running behind, but that's what we do. But hey, that's just part of it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for checking us out, kids. Thank you, Liz, a.k.a. the wife,
Thanks,
for joining
Liz.
us and bringing in the cool video. If you're listening, you need to go watch it on Facebook or YouTube and check us out. And go to andysroom.com and get your hoodie today for $29, Fat Thor Podcast. Or the Fat Thor lockdown shirt like Rick is wearing. We'll see you next week. See you, Rick.
Bye, Rick.
Goodbye, everybody.